Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Brands are talking. It's a Friday afternoon, 12:30. My name is Tando Mangaliso, and you know it's time for the fashion blueprint. Here at 27 Boxes on brandlive.co.za. I am not flying alone today. I'm with my beautiful wife and partner in crime, Vanya Mangaliso.
Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us again to this week's edition of the Fashion Blueprint. We've had an exciting time, a busy time. It's the first of the month.
First of the month, yeah, on a Friday as well.
We are officially entering possibly the second half of the year. Oh, wow. The last month and the first half of the year. And we're also very grateful that it's not so cold.
And we're asking ourselves, what happened to the time? You know,
Yeah.
what has happened? I just remember coming
Buying
here on the
Christmas
first,
gifts.
I think coming here on the first week of January. And now we are like, end of May, going into June, middle of winter. Unbelievable. Middle of Ramadan for our Muslim listeners. So, all the best with that. And lots happening, think of the royal wedding. You think of the invitation to a dialogue with the president of the ANC, Mr. Ramaphosa, that went to yesterday. There was the Creative Industry Awards hosted by Unathi Mthethwa and the
Minister
Arts and
of Arts and
Culture. And what sort of topics were they? What were they covering there in terms of the creative arts?
Well, creative arts. It's fashion, it's music, it's dance, it's spoken word, visual arts, television, any cultural activists, and I suppose cultural entrepreneurs were
And this
being
went down
recognized.
Empress
The awards
Palace.
were last night at Empress Palace, as you said. It was really a busy night. And yes, I think it must have been quite exciting. It's also great when it's always great when the arts get the airtime that they deserve, and I think we can look forward to even more exciting things. The minister's very committed to promoting the arts and culture in our country. It's visible. You've seen the kind of effort and support that they're giving into the arts. We will get there eventually. He's also a customer of ours, so we like the minister a lot. He's a
What
good
I'm
guy.
enjoying is, the realization that South Africa can and its economy will greatly benefit if they take the arts more seriously. If you think of GDPs of other worlds, of other countries, like you think of Italy and fashion. If you think of America and movies, if you think of Britain and theatre, what wonderful contributors theatre. Music, film, art to the bottom line
Hi,
and the
thank you
GDP
for joining us.
of these countries. It's incredible,
Yeah, you think of remember when we were in Sweden, how we were blown away by how seriously they take design. You look at the furniture, you look at the fashion, you look at
The lifestyle.
how they have carved themselves a very unique niche in the world as leading designers when it comes to design. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a visual treat from the minute you land at Stockholm Airport right down to the streets. When you see things, the very chair you're sitting on, it's been, somebody has thought about it. It's a well thought out concept. And you also think of something we've mentioned before, when we were guests of the British Council in London at their inaugural World Design Forum, where they were trying to position London as the design capital of the world. And
I'm sure France, Paris, and Milan will dispute that, but anyway.
Well, I think we must be careful not to narrow it to fashion. If you think of British design, you also think cars. You think of, you're a car enthusiast. You often tell me lots about the amazing things that they're doing.
90% of all
the
F1 teams.
quintessential British design, like when it comes to cars, like, your Bentleys, your Jaguars,
Your TRVs,
Rolls-Royce.
your Rolls Royces. No, for sure. And also the fact that if you think of design as well, a lot of the F1 Formula One teams are actually based in the UK.
True.
So that's very, very interesting in that. I think Nissan tried to move away. They went to Germany for a few years, but they found themselves coming back because, if you think of innovation and these businesses needing to, as much as they compete against one another, but them being in close proximity to one another. The
That
idea
makes
of,
sense.
that's where the innovation comes in.
It's actually one of the things that we are trying to encourage, even in fashion, that people who seem to be doing a similar business to you are not necessarily competition in the classic sense, but you must think of them as collaborators.
Yes.
We are moving towards that world. I think a couple of weeks ago we spoke of circular economies in fashion that are growing at 4 times faster than the rate of your average businesses. And these are basically businesses that are strategically formed on collaboration. So the very business model, it's based on you and I getting together to do separate businesses, but the interdependency guarantees not guarantees, it enhances the effort of two. As long as I'm in business, chances, if you obviously stick to your end of the bargain, you have a customer for life.
Right.
We share customers, we grow, and these are one of the things that we are trying to encourage in fashion. That the girl who's doing who's the hat maker, if you team up the hat maker with the girl who does trims, the beader. How do you bring them together? How do you bring them together in proximity? So it's a deliberate, strategic business practice that they work together. This is how they make money. Where the profitability of the two businesses is so linked that you would have to be
That's where innovation and solutions will come in that much quicker, I think.
Oh yes, and I mean I know you and I know from talking to people who run businesses that are similar to ours. Like for instance, whenever we talk to JJ, whose business has started around about the same time as ours, there's been similar. We design, produce retail for ourselves in similar retail environments and often similar kind of clientele. We know that in talking to each other, we learn so much. For instance, it takes somebody who's in a similar situation to say to you, you don't need to be sitting there in your shop the whole day wondering when people are going to walk in. You've got an invoice book, you've got a customer database. Why don't you get on the phone, start calling some people?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But somebody who's sitting in an office making decisions for people who work in fashion, I don't think the kind of thinking comes easily. So the one of the things that we're saying as fashion, part of the conversation last night, our voice to the president was, we actually want to sit at the table as fashion. There are a lot of exciting things that are being done. There is a lot of money that's being put into South African fashion.
Lots of talent, lots of innovation.
We've got talent, we've got
lots of
innovation,
design.
we've got the market. If there's one thing that we all have in common right now, wherever we are, well, maybe some of us not like others, we're all dressed. No matter how skimpy or how expensive your item of clothing is, which proves one thing, everyone has a clothing budget, no matter how small. And we all need to get dressed to keep our bodies warm and pretty. And the whole thing, the whole trick is, how do we get South Africans, maybe how do we get designers to design the kinds of things that the people want to wear? How do we bring the awareness to the public? How do we as the industry move consumers with us to support us? Nothing is more heartbreaking and amusing to an extent when a child, well, not so amusing, but when a child tells a parent that they want to go into fashion and the parent just shakes their head and closes their eyes and be like, oh my God, my child is going to starve. I'm going to starve. But the mom is wearing clothes at that moment that they bought somewhere, making no connection that you want to make clothes. Maybe I'm your customer. Maybe my sister's your customer. Maybe your brother's also your customer. Your neighbor's your customer. What about your pastor in church, your reverend? The markets are all around us. It's just a case of, I'm not saying that's the solution, the only solution, but these are just the things that we need to start thinking of consciously. We need to start thinking conscious of these things. Where people tell, I actually don't like, I know people say, I don't like South African clothes. I only wear French. I know somebody told me to my face, I only wear French and Italian, Vanya. I'll come visit you. I know you do good stuff, but I only wear French and Italian. And I laughed because 2 months down the line, that same lady will phone me and say, can I bring my child to do an internship with you? My child wants to go into fashion.
The irony
is, why would you want your child to come learn from us? We do African fashion. it's really a waste of their time. They're never going to do anything with that.
Yeah.
They open the mother's wardrobe, and none of the clothes in that wardrobe are South African made or of South African origin. And therefore, coming to South African designers, what are you teaching your child? Where's the child going to find a customer? Because you should be the first customer. But maybe pick up the phone and call Donatella, call Versace, call Gucci, get your child to do an internship there, or Zara or H&M, because that's what their life will be. That will come easy to. That's what you wear. That's what they wear. So it's all those things that people need to think about. It also speaks to the power that you have as a consumer. Even if you're spending 50 Rand on your skirt, where you choose to spend it makes a huge difference. And this is something that we can't overemphasize enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
No, but you must admit, I mean, as much as people do sway away from South African clothing, but there's been a huge support. You know,
there is support.
It is changing. I mean, it's nowhere near where it was, let's say, 15 years ago.
No, of course.
Or even 10 years ago.
Well, you know, one of the first things we said when we got in this industry that was particularly striking, having both traveled and you've lived overseas, was how if you landed in any other country, and I worked for Transnet, which is a logistics company, and I traveled the continent quite a bit. And one of the things that would strike you when you landed in Congo or Nigeria or wherever, as you would know immediately in Africa, from the smells to the, to the sounds, to the look, to the feel, the clothes that people are wearing. You land at OR, you could have been anywhere in the world really, but it's different. You switch on television these days, you will see things that are South African. We have a South African identity and we've come a long way, and obviously we're not going to fix it in one day. However, what I'm saying is there are so many things that we tend to complain about as South Africans, be us businesses or consumers, and how there's just no money in fashion, but we have so much control. These are things that we can fix. Whatever problems we have, we also have solutions to them. And this is where I'm coming from. So
you're saying that it's going to take a bit of time?
No, I'm not. I'm saying it doesn't need to take as much time as we make it, and we don't also have to feel so powerless about our situation. We're not asking for help, but maybe what we're really asking for, which was actually my whole thing yesterday with at the conversations with the president, that we need a seat at the table. There are so many amazing things that are happening in fashion, but they're all mushrooming in different silos. This department is doing this, not just government, but also private businesses. However, there's not an upward. You almost wish you could have turn a fashion into like a pyramid structure. So that
the same structure you would have, for example, in the motor manufacturing industry or the mining industry, that sort of thing, where things are not scattered, where there's one agenda.
A very important one. It was good to hear the president's agenda yesterday, and one of the good things about that he spoke about was succession planning. Even in fashion, you need succession planning. You need careers that are going upwards. So when a person says, you must be able to say, where is so and so's career in the fashion hierarchy in a way. If you're showcasing at New York, if you get invited to do a showcase at London Fashion Week, Paris, or New York, what does it mean? When you come back to South Africa, what does it mean to you as a designer?
And also, what did it take for you to be invited?
First of all, what does it take? Who gets invited? Who decides? Who decides these things? So when we say we want to sit at the table as the industry, we want to have an input. We want to contribute and say, sure, you want to send person A, B, C, D to London. It's all great. They're going to do this range. And when they get there, they showcase. Then what? Are they ready? Are they able to take advantage of those opportunities? Once the door has been opened, then what? South African designers have been going overseas since, when we started going, there were already other South African designers who were going overseas. Some doing better than others, but also another problem, largely undocumented. When we got to Atlanta, we got there to an audience that understood South African fashion because a South African designer had been there. And Sister Bugs, she had made such a name for herself in Atlanta and Washington. So when we got there, we had a market that was slightly cultivated. So any other designer from South Africa now who goes to Atlanta when you get there and you speak of South African fashion, they have a reference. They'll remember the Black Arts Festival. There was Sister Bucks. There was Sangodes. There was another South African designer called Tulare Monareng. Now the question is, okay, we here. But wouldn't it be nice to know how Tulare has done since showcasing in Atlanta 2004? I mean, Tulare had some American connections, and I'm just using it as an example because she did what we did. I think she went and lived in the States. But how interesting would it be to find Tulare and ask, Tulare, how has your career transformed since Tulare Monareng, by the way, if anyone knows, I'd love to hear where Tulare is. How has your career, what have you learned? What advice would you give to other designers who are South African, who don't have your American connections in terms of making it in America? Like, we know for a fact that having showcased overseas so many times, and after the show, people chase you. You have bodyguards of first ladies chasing you to the hotel to say, my madam would like to buy a certain dress, and you're like, oh no, I can't sell it. It's from the show. And they look at you, you came to entertain us, didn't come to do business. Why? Because you just got this invitation to get on the plane and showcase.
Yeah, I remember that.
The person who didn't, remember
it's
Madagascar?
almost like you're wasting time.
Remember Madagascar with those banking ladies? Anyway, lots to talk about. We'll pick up on the other side of the break. There's lots to talk about. We look forward to sharing more of these passionate and amazing conversations about the fashion world.
So we're about to pay bills as we usually do, but we'll see on the other side of this.
Making a bold statement yet blending into the surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Brandlife.co.za is thought leadership radio. It's a new way to communicate your brand, your value, and what we think about your industry. Be a leader, be a voice, and we will help you shape your industry. Our radio platform is for thought leaders who want to share insights, businesses who want to create value for their databases, organizations who want to control their message, for those that drive change. Make your brand come alive on brandlife.co.za, harnessing the power of talk radio.
Brandlife.co.za.
The station with the best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
Brandlife.co.za.
Lunatic, 'cause I do what I want, and I get what I want when I want it. You know life can be so ordinary. Boy meets girl, they settle, make a baby.
Brandlife.co.za.
Okay, back on attack as we usually are. Just looking at our Facebook and our Instagram live, it's exploding, it's going wild. Just want to say thank you to everyone for the wonderful messages. Unfortunately, we are not able to respond, so our lack of response is obviously because we've got a live show and, we can't actually respond. So we just want to say big up to all the shout-outs, and we don't take it for granted, man. All the support is, well worth it. It keeps our confidence going.
Thank you for connecting. Because also what we have to say, we already know. It's always lovely to share it and also to hear from you. We hope that in us sharing, you will get to share your story with us too. And let us know. Let's get together.
Right. So after the break, before the break, we were talking about the Arts and Cultures Awards. We were talking about the dialogue with the ANC President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. And now we are going to switch back to...
Well, basically the opportunities in fashion and manufacturing opportunities for South Africa for South Africans to position themselves. I mean, one of the exciting things about our president, his very first State of the Nation address, he spoke even last night he still said that there's certain sectors of the economy that can be targeted for growth and prosperity. And one of them that he mentioned in his first State of the Nation address was textiles, manufacturing. He's very
Straight
big
off the bat.
He's very big on manufacturing, and it was quite exciting for us that he specifically mentioned textiles. I think he knows what we all know, people that work in the industry, what we often say, that, fashion is just one of those industries where within 3 months you can take somebody who knows zero. Within 3 months you can train them, and they have a skill. They have a skill. They could sew. They could even employ and start a business within 3 months of just from nothing, if they've got a knack for it. It also remains number 3 in the world in terms of job creation. You add all the other exciting things, the low barriers to entry, the uniqueness of what we have to share as South Africans. So this is what we say when we say we need to be organized and opportunistic as people in the industry. Being organized also means that we need to sit at the table. One of the examples that I often use is that when you talk to designers is that, okay, so things like that bother people like H&M, like Zara, all these chain stores Mango that come into the country. We as the industry, having a seat at the table means that we should know at least 2 years before if Zara wants to come into South Africa, so we can plan our reactions. How do we plan so that it doesn't impact us negatively? How do we even piggyback on their success as a global as a global brand? For instance, giving fashion a seat at the table, we would ask things like, where are the shopping bags coming from? Shopping bags that we see people in Sandton carrying from H&M. Must they really come from Sweden or China or wherever? The rest of the continent, if they have stores within Africa, their shopping bags, where are they coming from? You take price tags. So a seat at the table means we look at the value chain.
And we look at the volume of clothing that they're bringing into South Africa and what can they actually make here. There's got to be some sort of tariff that goes.
If we've never asked,
an
we'll
agreement.
never know.
20. We're not saying 50%, but 20% must be manufactured in South Africa. All those jobs that can be created. If you think of the factories that can be created, the transfer from skills.
Oh yeah.
As much as because they won't compromise on quality.
Of
the
course.
quality that they're getting from China is going to be the same quality that they're going to build here.
But it's a good thing because we want them to bring those quality standards. Yeah, we want that infusion. We want that collaboration. We can't fight globalism. We also benefit from globalization. We also benefit as a country. We are also so interlinked. We're also talking things like intellectual property, where South African designers for years, they've been copying overseas. And now overseas has started copying from South Africa.
Yes,
it doesn't make it right. So what it means is we need to protect our industries. We need to we need to learn from their mistakes and our mistakes so that we are talking about a better world going forward. Let's make Africa great.
In the words of Donald Trump.
Talking about Donald Trump, I also don't I think he does some things. He has these strange policies that aren't always beneficial to his country and other people. But one of the interesting things, I don't know whether I'm being naive or not, is the fact since he started talking tariffs, increasing tariffs for Chinese goods going into the States, I think it's quite interesting that China is now inviting other countries to come and sell things in China. We are in the process of organizing an expo, being part of the expo, where China is inviting businesses from South Africa to go display the products in China. Now that's really unheard of, but exciting in the sense that, if you think of how big the Chinese market is. And I was thinking, I wonder if it's got anything to do with Donald Trump. Maybe China is thinking, we need to also make an effort. We need to be seen. We need to maybe show people more that China does have an appetite for products that from other countries. And that, for whatever reason they're doing it, we applaud it, we're excited, we look forward to opening up the Chinese markets. not just for
You're
us, for
listening to-
everybody else. Because once one South African designer gets there, it's everyone. We will all get there eventually. There's no industry that is based on one company, on one. It's on an individual. So if one designer gets there, either by design or by default, the door's already open for others. So always celebrate when you hear that people in the industry are doing exciting things. And also one of the things that was quite topical last night was women's advancement with the president. And now when I think of it in my industry, I think of how fashion can empower women. You think of how women often leave their homes in the rural areas where they're looking after their children and building homes. They have to come into the cities to struggle. Whereas the little money that they earn in the cities is there to support them, so they can't grow or do much with it. However, because life in the city is expensive. But if you think of a lady who's sitting somewhere in Kuruman or Qoboqobo or Putadichaba, who's a great crafter, you team her up with an urbanite who's making hats, like the example I used. But these people would never meet if nobody is strategically going out of the way to bridge those gaps. So that's what we're saying when we say we want to sit at the table. We want to contribute to the solutions in fashion, because as people work in the industry, we've got the solutions by virtue of us working in it, understanding it every day. We learn from each other. And I think it is exciting that there's more openness, there's more listening, and we're very excited what the president has to say.
Yeah, and and the nice thing about the president is in terms of, he was talking about the new dawn. We've come from a very dark 9-year period where obviously Mr. Zuma was in charge, but there's a lot of optimism and there's a lot of hope. And he was actually just saying that they're looking to the creative arts to become a bigger contributor to the South African economy, to the South African GDP. And it's just up to us. There's just so much potential, and we keep talking about this potential. But how do we harness this potential? How do we open it up? If you think of local tradition, global trend, where something is so uniquely South African but is able to sell all over the world. And a simple example of that is if you think of the French and their champagne. Say
Sparkling wine that everybody makes.
Say what you want. I remember working at a small champagne small champagne boutique manufacturer, and they said that everyone in the world wants to be like us. That's why everyone celebrates with champagne. And I was offended at first, but when I thought about it, I was like, wow, So that's the sort of thing that we must be doing. Yes, we make maize meal. Think of something like acha. How can we export acha to the rest of the world? Because it is a uniquely South African thing.
How do we package it? It's really in the packaging. And and being excited, and us being the ambassadors, being our ambassadors of our countries. It's also about us telling and celebrating our own stories. Last night it had been a while since I'd been so hopeful, so overly hopeful and enthusiastic. The president was on fire. He inspired, he connected, he ignited people. It was great. It was nice to have an agenda, to feel like the country has an agenda. It was also exciting to know that so many people are willing to work together. So many people are cooperating
and seeing the vision as well. I think
and seeing the vision. And what's great about fashion is fashion sells everything. There are just opportunities everywhere. Even when Kim Jong-un meets with Donald Trump, we had the visuals were the most important thing there. From the looks they're wearing, there's always an opportunity. When our ministers are going overseas to talk investment, to talk this and this, those are opportunities for us in fashion. Without them spending any more money into advancing our things, they are our billboards. So these are platforms. A seat at the table means we need to unlock these opportunities. A seat at the table means that it's nice that fashion will be represented in the next BRICS summit. I have been invited to go represent fashion. So I think it's exciting that people are taking it seriously. We need to be a bit more, not aggressive, but a bit more out there, conscious and go and,
And
negotiate,
deliberate, I think,
and
in
also
everything
go
that we do.
deliberate and go negotiate the deals we want. People often complain without even negotiating. You always assume that somebody else must understand your needs. Not so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Fashion Blueprint this week. Thank you so much. It's amazing how quickly the time flies. It's the 1st of June, guys. Let's put on our boots. Let's hit our straps. And in the words of Richard Quest, let's make it profitable in everything that we do.
Thank you so much. We look forward to a great show next week. We will be chatting to somebody telling us about chatting to Tandy. Will be telling us about the Nelson Mandela Film Festival. We think it's exciting. We're also talking June 16. It's the Youth Month. We are looking forward to launching the Gauteng Fashion Youth Chapter at Nasrec. We look forward to talking to a lot of young people who about careers in fashion. It is exciting. Don't believe the lies, kids. It's a great world. It's a business world like any other. You need to work. That's all.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.